Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that often tells us our worth is measured by our connections, our relationships, our social circles, our status in the eyes of others. But what happens when you find yourself alone? What happens when the noise fades, the crowd disperses, and you're left with nothing but your own thoughts? Most people fear solitude because they haven't learned to master it. They mistake being alone for being lonely, and in doing so, they run from the very thing that could transform them. Being happy alone is not about rejecting others. It's about building a foundation so strong that no external force can shake your sense of self. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need validation, who doesn't fear silence, and who doesn't crumble in the absence of attention. Today, we are going to explore the path to self-sufficiency, to inner peace, and to a kind of happiness that is not dependent on anyone or anything. Because when you learn to stand tall on your own, you become unstoppable. Being alone is often misunderstood. Many people associate solitude with loneliness, as if being by yourself is something to be feared or avoided. Society constantly reinforces the idea that fulfillment comes from being surrounded by others, that happiness is found in relationships, social validation, and external recognition. But the truth is, the ability to embrace solitude is one of the most powerful traits a person can develop. It is a sign of inner strength, self-sufficiency, and resilience. When you can be alone and still feel whole, you become someone who is not easily swayed by the opinions of others, not dependent on external circumstances for happiness, and not afraid to walk a path that others might not understand. Solitude provides a rare opportunity for self-discovery. In the absence of distractions, you are forced to confront your own thoughts, your fears, and your deepest desires. Many people avoid being alone because they are uncomfortable with what they might find when there is no noise to drown out their inner voice. But this discomfort is precisely why solitude is so powerful. It forces you to engage in an honest dialogue with yourself. It challenges you to understand who you really are beyond the roles you play in society. When you spend time alone, you begin to separate your true self from the version of you that is shaped by external influences. You start to see your own values clearly, rather than adopting those imposed by others. Solitude also cultivates mental clarity. In a world filled with constant stimulation, where notifications, conversations, and responsibilities pull you in 100 different directions, being alone allows your mind to reset. It gives you the space to process experiences, to think deeply without interruption, and to gain a sense of perspective that is often lost in the chaos of daily life. When you remove distractions and allow your mind to settle, you begin to think more critically, more creatively, and more independently. Ideas that may have been buried beneath the noise suddenly emerge. Problems that seemed overwhelming become more manageable. Solutions present themselves because you finally have the mental space to consider them properly. Embracing solitude is not about isolating yourself from the world or rejecting relationships. It is about developing a solid foundation within yourself. When you are comfortable in your own company, you no longer seek validation from others. You don't need constant reassurance to feel worthy. You don't rely on external circumstances to dictate your emotions. Instead, you develop an internal sense of stability that remains intact no matter what is happening around you. This independence is crucial because it allows you to engage with others from a place of confidence rather than neediness. It enables you to form healthier relationships because you are not looking for someone else to complete you. You are already complete on your own. When you embrace solitude, you also gain the ability to make decisions without undue influence. Many people struggle to trust their own judgment because they are constantly seeking opinions from others. They hesitate, second-guess themselves, and fear making mistakes because they have never learned to rely on their own inner compass. But when you spend time alone, making decisions for yourself without external input, you develop confidence in your ability to navigate life independently. You learn to trust your instincts, to stand by your choices, and to take responsibility for your own path. Solitude also strengthens resilience. When you can handle being alone, you are no longer afraid of losing people. You do not cling to relationships out of fear. You do not tolerate mistreatment just because you don't want to be left alone. You become someone who can walk away when necessary, someone who is not dependent on others for emotional survival. This kind of strength is rare but invaluable. It frees you from the anxiety that comes with constantly needing reassurance or fearing abandonment. It allows you to move through life with a sense of security that is not easily shaken. Another profound benefit of embracing solitude is the opportunity for self-improvement. When you are alone, you have the time and freedom to invest in yourself. You can read, learn, create, and develop skills that enhance your life. You can pursue passions without distraction. You can focus on your physical, mental, and emotional well-being in ways that might not be possible when constantly surrounded by others. The most successful and fulfilled people in the world have often spent significant periods of time in solitude, using that space to grow into the best version of themselves. Many people resist solitude because they fear boredom. They assume that without external stimulation, they will feel empty or restless. But this assumption reveals an underlying issue. If you cannot enjoy your own company, it is not because solitude is inherently unpleasant. It is because you have not yet cultivated a mind and a life that are fulfilling in and of themselves. When you learn to engage with your own thoughts, to find joy in simple activities, and to be present with yourself, solitude becomes something you look forward to rather than something you fear. Being alone is an opportunity to build self-discipline. Without external accountability, you must learn to structure your own time, to stay motivated, and to push yourself forward. This kind of personal responsibility is what separates those who drift through life from those who take control of their own destiny. When you can rely on yourself to stay focused and productive without the need for external pressure, you become unstoppable. You no longer need someone else to push you. You push yourself. You do not require validation to keep going because your drive comes from within. In solitude, you also learn to appreciate life in a deeper way. When you are constantly surrounded by people and distractions, you may miss the subtle beauty of the world around you. But when you slow down, when you spend time alone, you begin to notice things that once went unnoticed. You develop a deeper appreciation for nature, for art, for music, for silence. You begin to see the richness in the smallest details. This shift in perspective enhances your overall sense of fulfillment because you are no longer relying on grand external events to bring you happiness. You are finding it in the everyday moments that most people overlook. A strong sense of identity is the foundation upon which a fulfilled and independent life is built. Without it, people become easily influenced by external pressures, constantly seeking approval, validation, or a sense of belonging from others. They mold themselves to fit societal expectations, relationships, or cultural narratives without ever asking if those identities truly align with who they are. This is why so many individuals feel lost, unsure of their purpose, and disconnected from their true selves. When you lack a solid sense of identity, you become susceptible to chasing things that do not genuinely fulfill you, constantly shifting and adapting to the desires of others rather than following your own internal compass. Developing a strong sense of identity begins with self-awareness. Many people go through life without deeply examining their own values, beliefs, and principles. They absorb the ideas of those around them without questioning whether those ideas resonate with their true nature. They allow the opinions of others to dictate their choices, fearing rejection or criticism if they step outside the lines of what is considered acceptable. But without self-awareness, there is no true direction. You must understand what drives you, what you stand for, and what truly matters to you. And what truly matters to you. This means taking time to reflect, to challenge inherited beliefs, and to separate who you genuinely are from who you have been conditioned to be. Understanding yourself also requires a willingness to embrace solitude. When people are constantly surrounded by external noise, they struggle to hear their own thoughts. They seek distractions, relationships, or social engagements to avoid the discomfort of being alone with themselves. But solitude provides the perfect space for self-discovery. It allows you to question what you truly enjoy, what ignites your passion, and what gives you a sense of purpose beyond societal expectations. When you spend time alone without external input, you begin to recognize your own voice amidst the noise of the world. You become attuned to your own intuition, learning to trust yourself instead of constantly seeking reassurance from others. A strong identity also comes from having firm values. Many people drift through life without clear principles. adjusting their morals and beliefs to fit whatever situation they find themselves in. This lack of consistency creates internal conflict, making it difficult to feel grounded. People with a strong sense of identity know what they stand for, and they do not compromise those values for temporary approval. They have a moral code that guides their decisions, allowing them to act with integrity even when it is difficult. When you know your values, you are not easily swayed by external pressures. You do not feel the need to conform just to fit in. Instead, you remain true to yourself, confident in your convictions, regardless of whether others agree with you. Another key aspect of identity is embracing individuality. Many people suppress their uniqueness to blend in, fearing that standing out will lead to rejection. But suppressing your true nature to please others is a form of self-betrayal. Your uniqueness is what makes you valuable. The world does not need more people who simply follow trends and mimic others. It needs individuals who are bold enough to be themselves. You no longer chase approval because you understand that your worth is not defined by external validation. Instead of trying to fit into molds that were never meant for you, you carve your own path, guided by an internal sense of direction rather than external expectations. Building a strong identity also requires facing discomfort. Growth does not come from avoiding challenges. It comes from overcoming them. Many people avoid difficult conversations with themselves because they fear what they might uncover. They distract themselves with superficial pursuits, seeking pleasure and validation instead of confronting the deeper questions of who they are. But true identity is forged in the moments of struggle, in the times when you must make difficult choices, stand alone in your convictions, or push through adversity. Every challenge you face and overcome strengthens your understanding of yourself. It reveals your true nature, showing you what you are capable of when tested. A person with a strong identity also understands the importance of self-respect. When you lack a clear sense of self, you are more likely to tolerate mistreatment, unhealthy relationships, or environments that do not align with your well-being. But when you truly know yourself, you set boundaries. You do not allow others to define your worth or dictate how you should be treated. You walk away from situations that diminish you rather than trying to change yourself to fit into them. Self-respect means valuing your own needs, refusing to compromise on the things that matter to you, and maintaining your dignity even when faced with pressure to conform. Another key factor in developing a strong sense of identity is taking responsibility for your life. Many people fall into the trap of blaming circumstances, other people, or society for their dissatisfaction. But a strong identity is built on personal accountability. You must take ownership of your choices, your actions, and the direction of your life. When you stop looking for external factors to blame and start focusing on what you can control, you develop a sense of empowerment. You realize that your identity is not something handed to you. It is something you create through your decisions, your mindset, and your willingness to take charge of your own destiny. When you build a strong sense of identity, you move through life with confidence. You are not constantly second-guessing yourself or seeking permission to be who you are. You do not live in fear of judgment because you understand that external opinions do not define you. You no longer feel the need to chase approval or fit into societal molds that do not align with your truth. Instead, you stand firm in who you are, grounded in self-awareness, values, and a deep understanding of what truly matters to you. Routines shape the trajectory of a person's life. Whether consciously designed or unconsciously adopted, the habits and rituals a person engages in daily determine their level of fulfillment, productivity, and mental clarity. Many people live in a state of reactive chaos, responding to external demands and distractions without a clear sense of purpose. They drift from one task to another, feeling overwhelmed and unfulfilled, yet never stopping to examine the structure of their days. Without meaningful routines, life becomes unpredictable and exhausting, filled with inconsistency and wasted potential. Developing a structured and purposeful routine provides a foundation for stability, personal growth, and long-term success. The first step in cultivating a meaningful routine is understanding the power of intentionality. Many people move through their days on autopilot, engaging in habits that do not serve them simply because they have never questioned their effectiveness. They wake up, check their phones, consume mindless content, rush through their responsibilities, and end the day feeling depleted. Instead of being proactive in shaping their lives, they let external circumstances dictate their actions. Intentionality requires asking, what do I want my days to look like? What habits will move me toward the life I want to create? The answers to these questions form the blueprint for a structured routine that aligns with personal values and goals. A well-structured routine begins with a strong morning ritual. How a person starts their day sets the tone for everything that follows. Many people begin their mornings in a state of stress, hitting the snooze button multiple times, scrolling through their phones, or rushing out the door without a moment of reflection. This chaotic approach leaves them feeling unfocused and unprepared. A productive morning routine, on the other hand, establishes a sense of control and purpose. It might involve waking up at a consistent time, engaging in a form of movement, practicing mindfulness or meditation, reading something thought-provoking, or setting clear intentions for the day. These habits create momentum, ensuring that the day begins from a place of clarity rather than disorder. Another crucial aspect of a meaningful routine is prioritizing deep work. Many people fill their schedules with busy work tasks that feel productive but ultimately do not contribute to long-term growth. They answer emails, engage in unnecessary meetings, or get caught up in minor obligations that drain their energy. Deep work, on the other hand, is focused, uninterrupted effort on tasks that truly matter. Whether it is working on a passion project, developing a skill, writing, or creating something valuable, dedicating blocks of time to meaningful work leads to personal and professional fulfillment. Protecting this time from distractions requires discipline, but it is one of the most effective ways to ensure steady progress toward meaningful goals. Equally important is structuring time for physical health. Many people neglect their bodies in favor of immediate gratification, assuming that exercise and proper nutrition can be postponed without consequence. However, a well-functioning body is essential for sustained mental and emotional well-being. Regular movement, whether through strength training, running, yoga, or any other form of exercise, enhances energy levels, sharpens focus, and builds resilience. A structured routine should include physical activity, not as an afterthought, but as a fundamental component of overall well-being. Proper nutrition and hydration further support physical and cognitive function, ensuring that the body is equipped to handle daily demands. Mental and emotional well-being also require intentional practice. Many people struggle with stress, anxiety, and negative thought patterns because they do not have structured ways of managing their mental state. Incorporating activities like journaling, meditation, reading, or engaging in creative expression provides an outlet for self-reflection and emotional regulation. Without these practices, emotions can become overwhelming, leading to burnout and frustration. A well-designed routine includes time for introspection and self-care, allowing for greater emotional balance and a deeper sense of inner peace. Another key element of a meaningful routine is fostering strong relationships. Many people assume that relationships will maintain themselves without effort, but meaningful connections require intentionality. Setting aside time to nurture relationships, whether through quality conversations, shared experiences, or acts of kindness, strengthens bonds and creates a sense of belonging. Without this effort, relationships may become distant or superficial, lacking the depth and meaning that provide true fulfillment. A structured routine should include moments of connection, ensuring that the people who matter are not neglected in the pursuit of personal goals. In addition to structuring productive habits, it is also important to build rest and recovery into a routine. Many people equate busyness with success, filling their schedules to the point of exhaustion. However, true productivity is not about working nonstop. It is about working efficiently while maintaining balance. Scheduling downtime, engaging in hobbies, spending time in nature, or simply allowing the mind to rest enhances creativity and prevents burnout. Without rest, motivation and enthusiasm begin to fade, leading to diminishing returns on effort. A well-rounded routine includes intentional breaks that allow the body and mind to recharge. Evening routines are just as vital as morning rituals. How a person winds down at the end of the day influences their quality of rest and overall well-being. Many people end their days by consuming social media, watching television for hours, or staying up late with no clear purpose. This lack of structure leads to poor sleep quality, restless nights, and low energy levels the following day. A purposeful evening routine might involve reflecting on the day, planning for tomorrow, engaging in calming activities, or practicing gratitude. Ending the day with intention ensures that rest is restorative and that each new day begins with clarity. Establishing a meaningful routine requires consistency. Many people start with good intentions, but abandon their routines when motivation fades. The key to long-term success is discipline, sticking to routines even when it feels inconvenient or challenging. Over time, these habits become second nature, creating a sense of stability and momentum that drives continuous growth. Without consistency, even the best routines lose their impact. Self-sufficiency is one of the most valuable traits a person can develop. In a world that often emphasizes dependence on relationships, on social validation, on external approval, learning to rely on oneself is an act of strength and independence. Many people go through life believing that happiness, security, and fulfillment must come from outside sources. They seek constant reassurance, look for others to solve their problems, and feel lost when they are left to navigate challenges alone. But true confidence and resilience come from knowing that no matter what happens, you can take care of yourself. Self-sufficiency is not about rejecting help or isolating yourself from others. It is about developing the skills, mindset, and habits that allow you to stand firmly on your own 2 feet. So, one of the first aspects of self-sufficiency is emotional independence. Many people tie their emotional well-being to the actions, words, or opinions of others. They feel happy when they are praised and devastated when they are criticized. They depend on relationships for their sense of worth, believing that without a partner, a friend, or a social group, they have no value. This kind of emotional dependence creates instability because it places control of one's happiness in the hands of others. A self-sufficient person, however, understands that their emotions are their own responsibility. They do not need constant validation to feel good about themselves. They do not allow other people's judgments to dictate their self-worth. Instead, they cultivate inner stability through self-awareness, self-acceptance, and the ability to process emotions in a healthy way. Another key component of self-sufficiency is the ability to make decisions without relying on external approval. Many people hesitate when faced with choices, constantly seeking advice, second-guessing themselves, or fearing that they will make the wrong move. They have never learned to trust their own judgment because they are used to looking to others for guidance. While seeking advice can be valuable, excessive dependence on others for decision-making weakens a person's confidence in their own abilities. A self-sufficient individual takes responsibility for their choices. They gather information, consider their options, and then make a decision based on their own reasoning. They accept that mistakes are part of life and that learning from failure is more valuable than avoiding decisions altogether. Financial independence is another crucial aspect of self-sufficiency. Many people remain in unhappy situations, whether in relationships, jobs, or living arrangements, because they are financially dependent on others. They do not have the resources to walk away from toxic environments or to build the life they truly want. Developing financial independence means taking control of one's earnings, spending wisely, and learning the skills necessary to manage money effectively. It means avoiding unnecessary debt, investing in personal growth, and ensuring that financial security is not tied to another person's support. True freedom comes when a person knows they can take care of themselves without relying on someone else to provide for their needs. Another aspect of self-sufficiency is the ability to solve problems independently. Many people panic when faced with obstacles, immediately turning to others for solutions instead of developing their own problem-solving skills. They feel helpless in the face of challenges because they have never been forced to think critically and find their own way forward. A self-sufficient person, however, sees problems as opportunities for growth. They do not wait for someone else to fix things for them. They assess the situation, consider possible solutions, and take action. This mindset builds resilience as every challenge overcome reinforces the belief that they are capable of handling whatever life throws their way. Physical self-sufficiency is equally important. Many people take their health for granted until a crisis forces them to pay attention. They neglect their physical well-being, relying on doctors, medications, or external interventions instead of taking proactive steps to maintain their health. A self-sufficient person understands that their body is their responsibility. They prioritize good nutrition, regular exercise, and healthy habits that keep them strong and capable. They learn basic survival skills, ensuring that they can take care of themselves in unexpected situations. They do not wait until a health issue arises to start taking care of their bodies. They build routines that support long-term well-being. Self-sufficiency also extends to personal growth. Many people stagnate because they wait for others to push them forward. They rely on teachers, mentors, or authority figures to tell them what to learn, what skills to develop, and what direction to take. While guidance is valuable, a truly independent person takes charge of their own growth. They seek knowledge on their own, explore new ideas, and continuously strive to improve themselves. They do not wait for permission to pursue their goals. They take action. This mindset leads to continuous progress, as they are not limited by external influences or the need for constant encouragement. Another important element of self-sufficiency is the ability to be content alone. Many people fear solitude, equating it with loneliness or emptiness. They fill their lives with constant activity and distractions to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. But true self-sufficiency means finding peace in one's own company. It means being comfortable with silence, using solitude as a time for reflection and self-discovery rather than a source of discomfort. People who are self-sufficient do not need external entertainment or social interaction to feel whole. They cultivate hobbies, interests, and passions that bring them joy even when no one else is around. Finally, self-sufficiency requires resilience in the face of adversity. Life is unpredictable and challenges are inevitable. Many people crumble under pressure, feeling overwhelmed by difficulties because they have always relied on someone else to support them. A self-sufficient person, however, develops the mental and emotional strength to endure hardships. But they understand that struggle is a part of life and that overcoming obstacles makes them stronger. They do not give up when faced with difficulties. They adapt, persevere, and find ways to keep moving forward. Inner peace is one of the most valuable states a person can cultivate. In a world filled with distractions, pressures, and chaos, many people find themselves in a constant state of restlessness. Their minds are consumed with worries about the past and anxieties about the future. And they seek validation from others, chase external achievements, and struggle to find a sense of contentment. But true peace does not come from external circumstances. It comes from within. It is not dependent on financial success, social status, or the opinions of others. It is a state of mind that must be actively developed through intentional habits, perspective shifts, and a commitment to inner stability. One of the most important steps in cultivating inner peace is learning to detach from external validation. Many people base their sense of self-worth on the approval of others. They feel good when they are praised and insecure when they are criticized. They constantly compare themselves to others, measuring their success and happiness against external benchmarks. This creates an endless cycle of striving and dissatisfaction because external validation is fleeting. True inner peace comes from recognizing that self-worth is not something that can be given or taken away by others. It is something that must be built internally, independent of outside opinions. This means shifting the focus from seeking approval to developing self-respect. When a person learns to value themselves for who they are rather than how others perceive them, they begin to experience a deep sense of peace that is not easily shaken. Another essential aspect of inner peace is the ability to accept what cannot be controlled. Many people struggle with anxiety because they try to control every aspect of their lives. They want to ensure that things go exactly as planned, that people behave a certain way, and that circumstances unfold in their favor. But the reality is that much of life is unpredictable. People change, circumstances shift, and unexpected events occur. Resisting this reality leads to frustration and suffering. A person who cultivates inner peace learns to focus on what they can control, their actions, thoughts, and responses, while accepting what they cannot. This does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means developing the wisdom to recognize where energy is best spent. When a person stops trying to control everything and instead learns to adapt, they free themselves from unnecessary stress and worry. A key component of inner peace is mastering the art of letting go. Many people carry emotional baggage from past experiences. They hold on to resentment, regret, and pain, replaying past events in their minds over and over again. This prevents them from fully experiencing the present and moving forward. Letting go does not mean forgetting or ignoring past experiences. It means releasing their emotional hold. It involves forgiving oneself and others, understanding that clinging to negativity only prolongs suffering. When a person learns to let go, they create space for new experiences, positive emotions, and a greater sense of peace. Another crucial practice for cultivating inner peace is mindfulness. Many people live in a state of distraction, constantly thinking about what happened yesterday or worrying about what will happen tomorrow. They rarely experience the present moment fully. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing attention to the here and now. It involves being fully engaged in the present, whether eating a meal, walking outside, or having a conversation. When a person develops mindfulness, they begin to notice the beauty in ordinary moments. They become less reactive to stress and more aware of their thoughts and emotions. Instead of being controlled by negative thinking patterns, they learn to observe their thoughts without being consumed by them. This creates a sense of calm and clarity that enhances overall well-being. Simplicity is another important factor in inner peace. Many people fill their lives with unnecessary complications. They accumulate material possessions they do not need, take on commitments that drain them, and surround themselves with relationships that bring more stress than joy. They believe that having more will make them happier, but often the opposite is true. Simplifying life, whether by decluttering physical spaces, reducing commitments, or focusing on what truly matters, creates mental and emotional space for peace. A person who embraces simplicity learns to find joy in the essentials rather than being overwhelmed by excess. They prioritize quality over quantity, choosing meaningful experiences over superficial distractions. Boundaries are also essential for maintaining inner peace. Many people allow external influences to disrupt their mental and emotional stability. They say yes to things they do not want to do, tolerate toxic relationships, and allow others to dictate their energy and time. This leads to feelings of resentment, exhaustion, and imbalance. Setting boundaries means protecting one's peace by being intentional about what is allowed into one's life. It involves saying no to things that do not align with one's values, distancing from negativity, and prioritizing self-care. A person who sets boundaries does not feel guilty for putting their well-being first. They understand that peace must be actively protected. Another key element of inner peace is gratitude. Many people focus on what they lack rather than appreciating what they have. They dwell on problems instead of recognizing the good in their lives. Gratitude shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance. It involves taking time each day to acknowledge the positive aspects of life, no matter how small. A person who practices gratitude develops a mindset of contentment, seeing opportunities rather than obstacles. Gratitude reduces stress, enhances emotional resilience, and fosters a sense of fulfillment that external circumstances cannot shake. Developing inner peace also requires self-discipline. Many people believe peace comes from avoiding discomfort, but in reality, it often requires effort and discipline. It means taking care of physical and mental health, maintaining positive habits, and making choices that align with long-term well-being rather than short-term pleasure. A person who lacks discipline often experiences internal chaos, as they are ruled by impulses rather than intentional actions. Discipline creates structure and stability, providing a strong foundation for lasting peace. Solitude is often misunderstood. Many people associate being alone with loneliness, assuming that solitude is something to be avoided rather than embraced. Society places a strong emphasis on social interaction, constantly reinforcing the idea that fulfillment comes from relationships, group activities, and external connections. While human connection is important, the ability to be alone and find peace in solitude is equally essential. Those who fear being alone often seek distractions, surrounding themselves with noise and activity to avoid facing their own thoughts. But those who learn to embrace solitude discover a deeper sense of clarity, self-awareness, and personal freedom. One of the most valuable aspects of solitude is the opportunity for self-reflection. Many people go through life without ever truly understanding themselves. They are so immersed in external influences, the expectations of others, societal pressures, and the constant flow of information that they rarely take the time to examine their own thoughts, beliefs, and desires. Solitude provides the space to step back from these influences and engage in honest introspection. It allows a person to question their choices, recognize patterns in their behavior, and gain insight into what truly matters to them. Without time alone, personal growth is limited because self-awareness remains shallow. In solitude, a person also learns to cultivate self-sufficiency. Many people rely on others for emotional support, validation, and a sense of identity. They feel lost when they are not in the company of friends, family, or a romantic partner because they have never developed a strong sense of self. Being alone forces a person to confront their own independence. It teaches them to find comfort in their own presence rather than depending on others for happiness. This self-sufficiency leads to greater confidence and resilience. When a person knows they can be content on their own, they are no longer afraid of solitude or desperate for external validation. Another benefit of embracing solitude is the ability to think deeply and creatively. In a world filled with constant distractions, many people struggle to focus. Their minds are pulled in multiple directions by social media, news, and the demands of daily life. This fragmented attention makes it difficult to engage in deep thinking. Solitude eliminates these distractions, allowing the mind to settle and engage in focused thought. Some of the greatest ideas, innovations, and works of art have come from moments of solitude. When the mind is given the space to wander freely, creativity flourishes. Solitude also fosters emotional stability. Many people experience stress and anxiety because they are constantly reacting to external stimuli. They absorb the energy of those around them, feel pressured to meet expectations, and struggle to find a moment of calm. Being alone provides an opportunity to reset emotionally. It allows a person to process their feelings without outside influence, gain perspective on challenges, and develop a greater sense of inner peace. When solitude becomes a regular practice, emotional resilience increases, and external circumstances have less power over one's state of mind. Another key benefit of solitude is the ability to make decisions without external pressure. Many people struggle with decision-making because they are influenced by the opinions and expectations of others. They seek advice, second-guess themselves, and worry about how their choices will be perceived. While guidance can be valuable, excessive reliance on others can lead to indecisiveness and a lack of personal conviction. Time alone allows a person to think clearly about their decisions without interference. It enables them to trust their own judgment and develop confidence in their ability to navigate life's challenges. Solitude also strengthens self-discipline. Many people fill their time with social obligations and external activities because it provides a sense of structure. When they are alone, they struggle to maintain focus and productivity. Learning to be alone means learning to manage one's time effectively without relying on external pressures. It requires creating a routine, setting personal goals, and following through on commitments without the need for outside accountability. This self-discipline carries over into all areas of life, making a person more capable of achieving their ambitions. Another important aspect of solitude is the opportunity for personal enjoyment. Many people believe happiness comes from shared experiences, assuming that activities are only meaningful when done with others. While social experiences can be fulfilling, learning to enjoy one's own company is equally valuable. Whether it is reading a book, taking a walk, engaging in a hobby, or simply sitting in quiet contemplation, solitude allows a person to find joy in simple personal experiences. This ability to create happiness independently reduces the need for external stimulation and leads to a deeper sense of contentment. Embracing solitude also leads to stronger relationships. Many people fear being alone because they associate it with isolation. However, those who are comfortable with solitude often develop healthier and more meaningful relationships. When a person does not rely on others for their sense of identity or happiness, they approach relationships from a place of strength rather than neediness. They are more selective about who they allow into their lives, choosing connections that are genuinely fulfilling rather than seeking companionship out of fear of loneliness. This results in deeper, more authentic relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. One of the greatest lessons solitude teaches is that fulfillment comes from within. Many people search for happiness in external achievements, material possessions, or social status, believing that these things will bring them lasting satisfaction. However, true fulfillment is not found in external circumstances, but in a person's inner state. Solitude allows a person to develop a relationship with themselves, to find meaning in their own thoughts and experiences, rather than constantly seeking distractions. It shifts the focus from external validation to internal peace, creating a sense of wholeness that cannot be shaken by outside events.